Okay, here we go. I am Sandy Nightpaper, the co-founder of Higher Running. And today I have a very special guest, one of the Higher Running coaches, Rachel Warner Sanchez. She's wonderful. I'm going to put her entire bio in the description below. So please check that out. Her bio is very impressive, but I don't want to talk too much. I want for you to hear from Coach Rachel. So Coach Rachel, how are you doing?
I'm good, Sandy. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're here and that people can learn more about you because you're such a wonderful person, a great coach. So really happy to have you here. So
Thank you.
I'm just going to start with the first question, and that is, what made you want to become a coach?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. That one kind of takes me back a little bit. I was a cyclist before I was a runner, and I started with having a coach myself, like when I was 18, and he was a young guy that was learning to coach himself, and then kind of just enjoyed learning from him. And then as the years went on, as I went around the country racing, I kind of liked the same idea. People would just start to ask, tips or whatnot to getting faster. What kind of tempo ride should I do? All these little nitty and gritty questions. And I kind of just started to have a passion for trying to find that answer and communicate it to people. And then I started coaching a few people for my original coach for a few years. And then, long story short, I kind of had a hiatus, moved to Texas from Virginia, and then started to run because it saved time. And then kind of the process repeated itself. I kind of got fortunate enough to find a couple of run clubs to run with, and then started to take the running a little more serious with time goals and stuff. And then the same thing, questions would come up, and I wasn't quick to want to coach when I transitioned to running, because everything is different with running. Like, how much interval work can you do? Just the demand and fatigue on the body is different when you're talking about running versus cycling. But just the same passion of finding that answer and then being able to communicate and guide, and then watching someone trust your decision and then grow and learn themselves. It's just like this forever blooming tree, if you will. And it's nice to be a part of it.
That's a great answer. And you just had people like come up to you again and like, can you start coaching me, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I
That's how I
think
got my first guy.
think that shows some like natural talent there. You're naturally just like born to be a coach. That's actually similar to how I started coaching too. Somebody started asking me, but like talking to you, the first conversation I had with you was like immediate that you were very knowledgeable. I believe like you've been coaching for a couple of years now, but you definitely show like like even more experience than coaching a couple of years. It's quite impressive.
Oh, thank you. I try to learn from the best and keep going with it.
So I'm going to go to the next question. So what I love about all the higher running coaches is that you know the science, you know the tried and true philosophies, but there's a big emphasis on mindset and thinking creatively, which plays a huge role in our coaching. And so I wanted to get your insight on what you thought, why you thought that was so important to being a good coach.
Oh, those are a great sequences of questions, and that's one of those topics that we could unpack for hours, but obviously for the purposes of our little interview, not so much. But the overarching goal, and this should be with any coach and client relationship and in any sport really, is the person happy and healthy? So obviously we all subscribe to the same theories of coaching. Is it Jack Daniels, born out of the Lydiard method and periodization and intervals? There's only so many ways you can say tempo and long run and get it all put in there, which we all do for our runners. But the biggest thing is really, it does stem from that mental happiness and healthiness. You have to remember this, this person might be with you for a year or multiple years or maybe 6 months, but the idea is this is an activity of introspection, of enjoyment, for health, for a lot of reasons. And we have to remember that this person should have a lifelong goal to being a runner. And then when you're starting with somebody, say very young, some people question whether to coach a kid or not, but the same thing is, making sure that they're healthy and growing and not burning out. mentally or physically. And so that's the biggest thing a coach, needs to know to ask and give onus to the client as much as they can. Like, hey, are you having a good time? No, I hated that workout, or I love that workout. That's information you have to, process and adjust. And then, life happens. It's not a big deal if a workout has to get moved. So the idea is just those who communicate the best, by and large, are going to be your better coaches. So they don't necessarily have to be an Olympic athlete themselves, but they need to have walked a lot of the componentry of what a coach is to a client. What they're giving is the sense of, I've been there, done that, and I know I need to pace myself. I need to enjoy myself. I know what it's like to go for a goal, and that can be any pace or any race. And so just, yeah, that's over, I guess, the big theme here at the mindset, happy and healthy.
Yeah, and that's such a great answer, especially because that's so important for longevity and seeing success like year after year. Because if you don't take those things into consideration, like it's so easy to burn out, and like either you stop progressing or you just start not like running, and then yeah, you're just not going to stay with it or see the results you want to see. Like you might in the short term, but like a couple years down the road, if you don't train to listen to your body and train like to see joy, at least in most runs, then yeah, that's what we're all about here, is to like include that in our training. And like, I know you know the science really well too, and you can talk that all day, but I think I wanted to bring that out because it is really an important part of our philosophy for all the coaches here. So thank you for saying that. You said that very, very well. So I want to help some of the listeners out or people watching this interview. And so I wanted to ask you, what are common mistakes that you see athletes make, and what is your advice?
Oh, I guess a big one that can happen, that it just breeds a little bit into the previous question, is what do I do with myself when I go to a race and I do not hit my goal time? And that's back to just, relax. These are going to happen. Don't put so much pressure and value of yourself as a human being based on an arbitrary time. They will happen sometimes, and then sometimes they're just not going to happen. Obviously, that's why you have a coach, is to help minimize the risk of not achieving your goals. But the biggest thing is, don't put so much pressure on one race, one time, and then just say it's all lost if it doesn't happen. And then on the other, more, I guess, tangible aspects is not addressing little injuries when they're just little tightnesses. These are, back to the communication. A coach can ask many questions. They can look at something and kind of read into, okay, maybe this person's just a little off, but the client has to then explain back that, oh, I'm a little bit hurt, and not be ashamed to say that, because it's easier to take a couple days off than have 6 months down the toilet. So just don't be afraid to tell your coach that I'm a little bit hurt, I'm a little bit sick, this work meeting has dragged on forever. So just don't underestimate life's fatigues. And then more importantly, the last couple of years with a global pandemic and a lot of other stressors. So that's probably just a mistake of just putting too much pressure on something that brings joy, and little injuries and, recovery, all of it has to be put together. And when you're not in the right place to have everything put together, then just enjoy the process the best you can. And then when you can race again, then it's all worth it.
Those are two really great answers. I'm sure both of us, well, we've seen a lot of athletes who can relate, because I'm sure we've both seen athletes who've had very minor injuries that could be taken care of in a week that drag out 6 months and beyond. And so I'm really glad you said that, because that's really like a huge point to try to drill home to everybody watching, like just do something right away. So really perfect answer. And so like the next question is kind of on the same lines, but putting the pressure on you, not the pressure, but putting this is one is more about you. I want to know, what have you learned from failures or just a bad race?
Oh, you know, if I go back to when I was a cyclist, I think this question is pretty profound and a good explanation of, I had, you know, 8 cylinders and a VO2 max of 70, which is pretty physiologically good. But if you don't have all your mental faculties about you and your decision making and staying calm in bad moments, then it doesn't matter how good you are physically. So I think in my late teens and early 20s, some of that emotional maturity to handle bad races, I didn't have it. Not at least compared to now. I think in my late 20s and even early 30s is where I finally started to click into not beat myself up so bad when I had a bad race. Because if I didn't perform, I would let that fester and fester and fester. And in cycling, you have seasons where you'll race 50, 60, 70 days in a year. And I would lose 1/4 of my race season because I would just beat myself up over a bad race, or I'd just flat out make excuses why I failed at something, or, you know, labeled it as a failure, maybe when it wasn't. So if I could just, you know, tell myself, and then, you know, going forward to anybody that, you know, I work with, is there's no such thing as failure. Failures are if you literally just don't go out the door and try. Other than that, it is a magnitude of success, or it's a metric somewhere on there of like how successful it was or not. But yeah, just don't hate yourself when you didn't win, I guess would be the biggest thing.
I can definitely relate to that a lot. And I'm sure we can both say like those times sucked when we beat ourselves up so much, but now we're probably better coaches because of it, because now we can hopefully help navigate people through situations. Because I know a lot of other people, they're sometimes a little too hard on themselves after races, when really, like, if you don't have a bad race every now and then, you're not trying. And like, it's just so expected. Like, you can look at any elite, I'll use an elite runner because it's easy to look up past results, but any elite runner, you're going to see good and bad races like throughout their career. So yeah, it's about the journey and just trying to enjoy every part of it. Um, yeah, so only a little bit left. I want to know a little bit more about you, and like what races do you have planned this year? I know you have some big goals, and like you've already started racing a little bit, but what else is on your calendar?
Yeah, oh my goodness, I'm just, first of all, I'm so thankful that I get to race again after having surgery on my heel, a Hogland's deformity, and that's something, of course, in the future and other posts and whatnot, I can certainly explain more and help people, you know, if I can explain that process. So I'm just
Rachel,
happy that I
I
can
have to
run.
stop you. We have a very similar history. Do you know, like I had surgery on my Achilles too.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that you did. I've never had the courage to ask, was it on your tendon or did you have your bone shaved?
I had both. I actually
Oh,
was so I actually, sorry,
oh,
quick story.
please.
I went to Europe to have my surgery done, and I actually like they don't put you totally under. So I was actually awake, and I could actually see them like hammer the bone off.
Oh,
And then they like scrape the tendon and like remove some burses and stuff.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, no, no. I was put out. And
That's probably a good thing.
yeah, they were gonna do like that nerve block and just kind of let me be awake. And then I'm a feisty one, so they said, "No, just get general anesthesia." I
That's
can't
funny.
imagine, because my God, heaven forbid you twitch, move in
It
any
was just
form
like
or fashion.
awkward. Like it felt like a lot of pressure still. It was an
Oh,
interesting experience. But
I can
anyway, I'll get
imagine.
back to you. I'm glad to see like
No.
you're back running after that, because your surgery, it really wasn't that long ago, but you seem to be,
Mm-mm.
I know like there's still like ups and downs with coming back from like an Achilles
Mm-hmm.
issue. But I know you're getting back in it. So back to you and what you're up to this
No,
year.
no. No, it's important that, you know, you share as well, because, you know, back to some of these previous questions, um, if you go through a surgery like that or an injury or whatnot, you can help you know, guide people, just like anything can be successful. That's different shoes. That's maybe running just a mile or more a week. There's so many things, or a little more gym work after a run, just anything. So no, that's great that you shared. And then the fact that you're diligent in your decision making. I had to go through 4 doctors to find one who didn't want to fillet my tendon open.
I went through a couple of doctors too.
Yeah.
So no, I think that's another important thing to bring up is like,
Yeah.
when you're having something that big done, get different opinions, because you're going to get different opinions. And so then you at least have choices on what's best for you.
Yes, 100%. If you are privileged with the choice, whatever it is, a shoulder, a knee, doctor of 3, try to go to 3 different specialists if you can. And it's not, you can do it respectfully of the doctor's time and opinion. Surely they can respect that this is a major decision. And if you can, just at least see 3 doctors, because it took 4 for me to find one. And it was up in the middle of nowhere in the country, of all places. So, but now that lets me, fortunately, get back to racing. I'm still doing a little bit of rehab and stuff, just trying to get the calf. My calf didn't take too well to it. It seems like the surgery's fine. Just my calf muscles are all still what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got the Woodlands on what is it, March 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I'll be going to Boston this year, but for fun only. That is not a fast race. They'll be in the lower to mid 3s versus pushing for a PR, just because that's my celebration of truly coming back. And I'm gonna high five people. I'm gonna soak in Boston and go from there, and truly enjoy that race. And then Grandma's half marathon after that, and then the big marathon push will be Chicago 22. That's where I will enjoy myself, but that's where it's just full on as fast as I can go. Try for the OTQ, the Olympic Trials qualifying time. It's 2:37 now for the women. So I'll just see how long I can hang on. If the wheels come off at 16 miles, that's okay. I'm quite okay with it.
Yeah,
enjoy.
I think when you're going with such a specific goal, like that's the time you go for it. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, then there's always more races to try later on. So yeah, that's a fun race schedule. And I like show people you're having a good build up. You're just you have this goal, but you need time. And then so you're not going for it until the fall, and you have all spring and summer to help prepare you for it. So nice little fun. It'll be fun to follow along. So I'll point out right now, going to post more about Coach Rachael on the Higher Running Instagram, but you can also follow her account. What's your Instagram handle?
Oh, it's one of those generic ones still. I think it's Rachel.Warner.716. That's what it is. I haven't.
I'll link to you. Don't worry about it. I'll have links in the description, and you should also check out Coach Rachel's bio on the Higher Running website. But we're down to the last question now.
Oh boy.
No pressure here. I'm just wondering what does higher running mean to you and to your athletes?
Oh goodness. Oh, it means so many things, and they're all so positive. I think going back to when I first spoke with you and Sage on the phone, it was just to me, just this dart. Let's launch it as far as I can go, and maybe I'll get an email back of my interest in being a coach for higher running. You guys I've watched for years, and they seem like just generally good people, and who they are on video, I think is probably how they are in real life. And so far it seems to be that way. So it's just, I don't know, I guess I could say just the care and compassion as being a human being, caring about, a person's, struggles, environmental endeavors, just runs the gamut of just, we're going to try to be A+ human beings first, and then we'll bring along the coaching and the, and all of, what comes with making training plans for everybody. So that was the first thing to me. It was just, everyone that works at high running does it for the right reasons. And, there's no bad questions. There's no, we'll figure it out kind of thing. You're a coach, you should know how to do this. And so I think that just gives a runner and a coach just an ability to come in a big safe space to relax and work on their goals and just follow along with, I think, just wholesome content. Not only do we learn something from watching higher running content, it's just, it puts you in a better mood. I've never watched a video and go, well, that was a waste of 15 minutes. It's always uplifting. So I feel like not only from the nitty and the gritty of the technical stuff, I just feel more empowered to go out and just be a good human. Whether that's hold a door for somebody, get someone a meal because they need something to eat. I know that kind of runs off topic of coaching, but that's truly kind of what it means to me, is just, I think people have been under a lot of pressure, and there's just a lot of stress, depression, anxiety, rippling throughout our whole culture, really. So this is just a breath of fresh air to be able to just be humans to one another. And then, of course, on the technical side of stuff, I love being a coach. It's just a burning passion, and I want to keep going with it and acquire more athletes who are so willing to let me work with them, and keep growing it on the personal and professional side of things. And I can put my head on the pillow each and every night that it is truly for the right reasons, for the right company. And I'm just so thankful every day that I get to say I'm a higher running coach.
And that answer is exactly why you're the perfect coach for higher running, and why we want you on the team. And we just love having you. Like, there's people who know a lot of the science about running, but if you don't truly care about people, then like, you're just not the right fit for higher running. But you, like, I knew like right away, me and Sage both, when they interviewed you, that like you knew your stuff, but you also like fit our philosophy of just being a good human being and truly caring about every single person you work with or talk to, whether they're part of higher running or not. Like, we just know you're one of those genuine human beings who really care about being a good person. And I think that's just a great place to end this interview. Coach Rachael, thank you so much for coming to chat today. Again, like, just so lucky to have you be part of the higher running team. I can't thank you enough. And thank you so much for joining today.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for having me.
And also, everybody watching, please find more about Coach Rachael on the Higher Running website. She does have some openings if you'd like her to coach you. And yeah, thank you so much for watching.